Hello! So in previous videos, we've mentioned social engineering before and how workers and people can tend to be the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity. So in this video, we're going to dive into that a little bit more and kind of look at some social engineering techniques and effectiveness and things like that. And so social engineering it's really kind of an art, right? When you see people do it well, it's really kind of impressive, to be honest. But what it is at its very core is just a way for people to manipulate other people based on human nature in order to obtain information. They're relying on people's vulnerabilities and weaknesses as humans and their human nature in order to gain the information that they're trying to. And so when it comes to social engineering, these social engineers tend to play on people's emotions and psychology in order to get what they want. And so there's some kind of key principles when it comes to social engineering effectiveness, right? And so one of these key principles is authority, like claiming to be, with the IT department, or claiming to be maybe the CEO of the company. Maybe they have an email address that looks pretty legitimate, right? But maybe the CEO has an L in their name, right? But they make an email address that has a capital I, and so it looks essentially the same. Something like that, right? They're playing on the principle of authority, claiming to be someone with authoritative power. Another principle is intimidation, right? They're threatening or trying to frighten or coerce someone to give them the information that they want, and by doing that, instilling threat and intimidation into that potential social engineering victim, right? Sometimes they can use the principle of consensus. For example, if they are trying to get someone to reset their password or the password to somebody's account, right? They may say something like, I called last week and your colleague was able to do it with no problem, right? Something like that. Another one is scarcity or urgency, right? Telling someone that you need them to do something right away because they have a deadline, or they don't have much time, or something's about to happen, right? And so there's a sense of urgency to try and coerce the person to do that. And there are a couple other ones, but again, it's all about trying to play off someone's emotions, it's really more of like a psychological attack, playing on people's needs and desire to want to be helpful, right? As human natures, most of us want to be helpful and useful and things like that, and that's kind of what makes social engineering so easy for some people. All right, so let's talk about some specific approaches to social engineering, right? The first one being impersonation. I kind of touched upon this one a little bit when we talked about playing on an authoritative premise, right? Pretending to be someone else, whether it's a CEO or maybe just someone from the help desk, or maybe someone that's not even real, right? Someone pretending to be from the power company or something like that. You're just pretending to be someone else, right? That's what impersonation is. And then we have phishing, which most of us have heard of before, where you send an email or something like that out to people, and you direct them to maybe a fake website or something like that, where they'll put in their credentials or password or some other type of information, right? Something along those lines. But typically it's called phishing because it's not really specific, right? You send it out kind of en masse to a lot of people, and you hope that one of the fish bites, right? You're throwing out the bait and just hoping that someone will take it. But then we have different types of phishing as well, like spear phishing, where instead of just sending out like a generic message to a lot of people, maybe you are targeting one specific person, and so you're launching that spear at a particular fish, right? Going after one specific and one intentional target. Similarly, we have whaling, which is like spearfishing, but now you're targeting the big whale, right? The CEO of the company or whoever it may be. You're not going after that small fish anymore. You're targeting, the mother whale, the Moby Dick, right? Someone really high up in the chain. And then there's vishing. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up, right? Vishing and smishing. So vishing is phishing, but like with voicemail, right? Maybe they're like one example that they give is like a pre-recorded message pretending to be like from the victim's bank, right? Saying that maybe there was some fraudulent charges on their credit card or something like that, and then they'll provide like a number or some way to contact the bank to help fix that, right? But it's really going to be a redirect to the attacker where they're going to try and get that necessary information from them. And along those same lines, smishing is like that, but only instead of having a voice call or a pre-recorded message, you're sending like a text message, and so the smishing, the S is from SMS, which is like text messages, right? Short message service. So that's where we get smishing from. So phishing, whaling, vishing, and schmishing. It's just fun to say. And so another approach is redirection, which is, it's less psychological and emotional and kind of really targets more of like the victim's lack of technological prowess, I guess, right? Sending them maybe like a fake website or something like that that maybe looks and acts similar to a real one, and may even the domain even be very, very close in the way that it's spelled to it, right? That's what we call typo squatting. Something along those lines, right? But then it's not the real website that they're trying to get to. It's going to be redirected to the threat actor's website where they can try and get all of that information from the potential victim. This is really more of an example of spam, not really so much like social engineering, but it's also something to be aware of, right? They refer to this as image spam, right? And that's because like all of the text inside it is, at least the spam part of it is it's an image, right? So it's gonna pass through any type of filtering or anything like that because it's not text, it's just an image of text, right? So that's what we refer to as image spam. While this here is an image of spam. So that's pretty great. Another approach is hoaxes. You'll get these a lot, especially with like vishing. People claiming to be like from like the IRS or something, or I think I even received one years ago saying that they were like some law enforcement and had like a warrant out for my arrest or something like that, right? Another really common one is prying on like older people and saying that they have like that there's like a really dangerous virus going around the internet and asking them to get on their computer and change certain settings and things like that. They're all hoaxes, obviously. They're not real. So watering hole attack, this one should have been kind of lumped in with the other ones like phishing and spear phishing and things like that. That's kind of where you're directed towards not really just one person, but kind of a small group of people. Like how a pack of animals all gather around a water hole, or I guess, or a water cooler, really. same thing. So yeah, that. And then we have more physical approaches. Things like dumpster diving, tailgating is another one, shoulder surfing. We'll talk about those here in a second, right? But, dumpster diving is used to be super, super, super common, right? And not just for social engineering. People used to dumpster dive to, get stuff, products, right? But you can dumpster dive for social engineering to get useful information. I did kind of going back to dumpster diving to acquire just stuff, right? In was it 2013? I did a co-op with Cisco out of Boxborough, Massachusetts. If you don't know, co-op is very similar to an internship. Except it's full-time and paid, and it's a 6-month duration. You get a reprieve from all your classes while you're doing the co-op, but you're still enrolled as a student. So kind of like a step above an internship, really. But I did one for Cisco Systems, again out of Boxborough, Massachusetts, and there was I was there for 6 months, and there was like 3 or 4 times where they would get rid of equipment, older equipment, and things like that. That still worked fine, right? But it may be older or end of life and things like that. And so they would literally just throw it away, right? The equipment, they would just take it. They had a big bin, and they would just throw it away. And so people were allowed to go and grab it if they wanted to. I received a whole number of switches and some older Pixie firewalls and things like that. Some really cool stuff. So dumpster diving is a thing. It really is a thing. So, but in terms of social engineering, it can be useful for retrieving certain types of information, right? Like all these things. You never know what may have useful information on them, right? So you want to dispose of things properly, right? Shred it if it's paper, even media discs, right? CDs and things like that. You can shred those. For things that you can't shred, you can burn it. You can also burn obviously paper and stuff like that too. That's a really common way of destroying it. But things like hard drives and things like that, you want to make sure that you are disposing of them properly, right? Especially if it's a magnetic hard drive. Just formatting the hard drive is not going to erase that data, right? You need to get something that will essentially wipe the disk, and what it really does is it fills the entire hard drive with ones and zeros, and it usually does it in 7 passes. That will correctly overwrite all the data, right? When you just format a hard drive, all you're doing is deleting the MBR, the master boot record, the location of that data, but all the data itself is still there and is still very easily retrievable. So disposing of things is very, very, very important. And they even have companies that do data disposal that will mobile data disposal, that not mobile devices, but they themselves are mobile and will come to your company and do that and stuff like that. So important to do, because you never know who's going through your trash, I guess. And then the last 2 physical procedures that we talked about, tailgating and shoulder surfing. Tailgating, is when you try to sneak in behind someone. Not really sneak in behind someone, right? But a really common tailgating technique is you have a lot of double doors, where you have one door that will get you into the lobby, and then right after that you'll have another door that will get you into the secure area, right? Something like that. And so a really common technique is someone that does not have access will come up and hold open that first door that everyone's allowed to go into. They'll hold it open for someone to go in, right? And then once that person goes in, they'll follow them. And then, because of our instinctually good nature as people, they will hold open the second door for the original person. But now, that person is, trying to get in when they don't have access to. That's a good example of tailgating. And shoulder surfing, yeah, just people looking over your shoulder when you're using, different equipment, computers, mobile devices, things like that. Always something to be aware of. They make those privacy screens that you can put on your devices now, so that you can only see it if you're like looking directly at it, like right in front of it. If you're like off to the side just a little bit, you like can't see anything. So it could be good to have some of that if you're worried about that. So all right, excellent. A lot about social engineering. We talked, about different psychological principles, right? Some things like authoritative effectiveness and consensus, intimidation, all those kind of things. We talked about impersonation, different types of phishing and vishing and smishing. Oh my. Redirection. We talked about physical approaches, right? Like tailgating and shoulder surfing and dumpster diving and all sorts of good stuff, right? So I hope you guys have learned something from this video, and we will see you next time.